Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to another episode of DayMet TV. Today we have a special guest. We have Casey Davis joining us. He is one of our partners and he offers auto and homeowners insurance through Liberty Mutual. And as a DayMet member, you are eligible for a special discount. So today he is going to talk about Homeowners Insurance 101. So I'll be bringing him into the studio in just a moment. Hello, Casey. Welcome.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
So you're going to talk to us today about Homeowners Insurance 101, right?
The exciting world of home insurance 101. Yes.
Excellent.
Can't
Well, the
wait.
floor is yours.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot. So, hi, everybody. I think Jamie introduced me. My name's Casey Davis. I'm a local Liberty Mutual agent, and she probably explained to you that we have a special partnership with DayMet that qualifies you for some special discounts. So I just wanted to let you know that. I'm sure most of you have probably seen our commercials. Liberty Mutual's advertises quite a bit. You've probably seen our Emu and Doug and some of the other themed commercials we've had over the years. But anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about home insurance, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with it, probably has it. Obviously, if you have a home, and there's a mortgage, you have to have home insurance. If you don't have a mortgage, I guess you don't, but I would highly recommend it. So, and again, I wanted to just kind of get into the basics of it, add some a little bit of detail here and there, maybe answer a couple questions, talk about when you should file a claim, that type of thing. But the home insurance policy, and I always like to tell my customers, you want to make sure when this right here, this piece of paper, right, this is a home insurance policy. So all it is a piece of paper. But when it becomes a product, and let's hope that doesn't happen for you, because then that means you had a bad day. But if it is, you want to make sure you have the right product. So the home insurance policy is going to protect your home for rebuilding the home in case there's a total loss, and it's going to cover it for pretty much any peril you can think of, wind, hail, fire, theft, things like that. You want to make sure that those it's a full HO3 policy with full replacement value. There are some policies that are not as good, and let's say you had a claim, and they'd say, well, listen, yeah, you had a claim, but we're gonna fix your house or replace your personal belongings at actual cash value. You don't want that kind of policy, and that's not the type of policy that we offer. So again, you want to make sure you have all the right coverages. The dwelling's the big thing. All the other numbers are going to kind of roll off of that number. If we're protecting your home for, let's say, $300,000, you're going to get 75% of that number in property, which is more than you'll probably ever need, and that's your everyday common personal property, your clothes, your furniture, your flat screen TVs, things like that. If you have additional things like jewelry or fine arts, that has to be scheduled because the insurance company has to know about that. The next thing would be other structures, anything that's not attached to the home. A company like Liberty, it's pretty common, and we give you 10% of your dwelling coverage. So if you think you need more than that, if you have a big detached garage and it's just not quite enough, you need to talk to your agent or me, hopefully, and say, hey, let's bump that up. An important part of a policy, I think it's usually maybe the second or third most important part, is God forbid you did have a total loss, you had a horrible day. Obviously, you want to make sure you have what's called additional living expenses or loss of use, meaning you've lost the use of your home. So Liberty Mutual, in our case, we give you what's called actual loss, which means we don't put a time limit on it and a dollar limit on how much we're going to pay to put you and your family in temporary housing. So that's real important. And then you want to make sure, I like to give people $1,000 deductible for all perils. A lot of companies now are moving to higher deductibles for wind and hail. I mean, we live in Ohio. It's probably the most common claim in the state of Ohio is a wind hail claim. I'm sure most of you remember. It was just 2 weeks ago. We had that. Oh gosh, actually it was Friday night. We had the big hail and wind event. So you want to make sure you have a good deductible. And if you do raise the deductible, if you're the type of person that says, I don't think I'm ever going to file a claim unless it's just a huge loss, then you can lower your rate a little bit if you wanted a higher deductible. So those are kind of the key things you want to make sure you have in the policy. Then there's some additional coverages that you'd always you might want to know about or think about, and that would be if you have jewelry, let's say, if you have a finished basement, or any kind of basement where water, you have a sump pump, water might back up in the basement. You want to make sure you have water backup coverage, so definitely talk to your company and your agent about that. Um, I'm just trying to think of some other things. How about filing a claim? So I always like to tell my clients when I sign them up, if you ever have a question, give me a call first. I'm not a claims person. I'm not going to tell you exactly how, what's going to happen, but I can give you some general advice on when we think, when you might want to file a claim. Sometimes I'll come across folks that are new and I'll look at their claim history, because all insurance companies are typically going to look back about 5 years to see if you filed a claim. And sometimes I'll see a claim that's someone only received a couple $100. If I was their agent, I might have said to them, hey, let's think about this, because the $200 you received probably isn't worth having a claim on your record, just in case, let's say you have a real event that you need, maybe it's a brand new roof, or God forbid, the whole house. So you want to avoid a small claim like that. So that would be something that I think is important to have a local agent, because if that person's engaged with you, they're going to be able to help you out and say, hey, listen, let's file this claim, let's not. And then we turn it over to the claims department. And Liberty Mutual, for example, I think is as good as it gets when it comes to handling claims. The last thing I think I was going to mention, as far as the home insurance, and some people just kind of think, it's all the same. My neighbor's got it for whatever, $800. I should be able to get the same thing. There's a lot of variables that go into the rate. We don't do a full credit hit, but it's an insurance credit score. So if you have good credit, your rate's going to be better. Where the house is located is obviously a variable. If it's in a subdivision where there's fire hydrants and close by fire station, that's great. But if it's out pretty far out in the country, that can affect the rate. And sometimes it can even make it hard to get insurance if you're really out where it would be hard to get to you if there was a fire. The age of the home is a big variable. I live in an old neighborhood with homes that are built back in the 1800s. Older homes cost more to insure typically. I think I mentioned the size, and then the age of the roof is a variable, because that's usually one of the big claim areas is the roof. So if you have an older roof, that might impact your rate a little bit. And then most of the major carriers offer multi-policy discounts. So if you add another line or two, that's going to help your rate, like your auto insurance or an umbrella policy, or even maybe a life insurance policy. So those are some of the things that affect the rate. Jamie, I think that's kind of the gist of what I was going to talk about. I think you said 5 to 10 minutes, so I didn't want to go over. If you have any questions, or feel free to fire away.
Yeah, that's great information, and hopefully that's helpful to our viewers. I want to mention a couple other questions that I'd like to have you answer in case others are wondering about this. What about flood insurance? How do you know if that's something you should purchase?
So you're probably going to know, your bank's going to tell you, or in the listing, you're going to be in a flood zone. Flood insurance is a requirement, right? If you have a loan, and it can be very expensive if it's in a bad flood zone. If you're down by the Ohio rivers, let's say, or even there's a few areas around here where you might be by a creek or something that has a history of flooding. So you would let me know, let your agent know. I will say, for example, Liberty Mutual, every company can write through the federal government, so the rate is the rate. It is what it is, but we have access to a private flood insurance company that usually we can get you some better rates. So yeah, flood insurance is one of those things, if you have to have it, you get it, but normally I wouldn't recommend it, because any other, you probably don't need it, and you're just going to pay for a policy you don't need.
Okay. All right. And also, how about replacement value of a home? How does an insurance company determine that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And right now we're in a stage where every time you blink, cost of building materials are going up. But typically every company has a tool. It's called a replacement cost tool. And just to give you an idea, for example, in Ohio, we live in a state, which, by the way, for the folks on the call here, we live in one of the best states in the country for rates. Our rates are pretty low because we don't have a lot of the events that some other states have. But in Ohio, a good rule of thumb is for every above ground square foot of living space, it's about, we used to say about $1.20 is a good rule of thumb. And then if you have a basement and it's finished or partially, that adds to the replacement value. So you always want to make sure you have a little bit more, and our system's almost always going to give you more than you need, which is, I think, where you want to be. And then just in case, let's say there was a major event that impacted many homes and the cost of building materials, contractors' rates went up. We give you 20% more coverage on top of whatever we think it would cost, just in case, at no charge in premium. So if we're insuring your home for $200,000, you're going to have an additional $40,000. So
okay,
yeah, okay,
that's fantastic.
great. All right. Well, anything else?
Yeah. I think that's good. I would encourage people, if you have other questions for Casey, we do have his contact information out on our website. I will actually show you exactly where that is. And if you go to our website at daymetcu.com and look at the For You link, go over to our partner discounts and auto and home insurance. Click on that link, and that's going to bring you to a page that has Casey's face on it,
There you go.
as well as his contact information. So you can either call or text him or send him an email, and he would be happy to answer your questions, provide you with a quote, and all that good stuff. So, Casey, I really appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.